Welcome to the International Federation of Rural Surgeons, Rural Surgery YouTube channel. This is a summary of the Zoom lecture that IFRS had for managing Foley's catheter in rural areas. The Foley's catheter, there are several sizes and types. There is a standard international color coding, which starts from green for 6 French and purple for 22 French. And the most commonly used ones are about 16 or 18 French for adult male and 12 to 14 French in women. And if there is clot retention, then use larger catheters like 20-22 French. And then again, even though the lengths are generally the same, the male catheters tend to be longer, 43 centimeters, while pediatric catheters are about 30 centimeters, and female catheters about 26 centimeters. But nowadays, most of them are available in standard sizes. And usually, this is the type of tip which is available with the Foley's. Although the other tips are often available, but they are not so common. So what are the things that as a rural surgeon or rural doctor you need to know about the catheter? So first thing you need to appreciate is that the urethra is not a straight tube. It has all these curves. So it is important to remember this. And especially when you're trying to pass the catheter inside, you need to have as less number of curves as possible. So instead of once you have the penis this way, then it'll be just one curve which the catheter has to negotiate rather than two curves. And it's because it's a foreign body that you're introducing into the body. Antibiotic cover is always preferable. And there is adequate lubrication is important because people are not used to having catheters in the urethra. And as mentioned earlier, you have to make sure that there is only one curve to negotiate rather than multiple curves. And you need to be very gentle and patient while passing a catheter because at the level of the sphincter, the patients can voluntarily contract the muscle. So if you try and push it there, it can cause urothelial damage and later stricture. So if it is not going, you need to apply gentle, constant pressure and wait for a while till the patient relaxes the sphincter and then the catheter goes. And what about self-calibration? So this is a method which the urologists use quite frequently, especially for urethral strictures, because urethra is a circular tube. So if there is a stricture, you cut open the stricture and make it wide. But then if it heals, it'll again become narrow. In fact, it can become more narrow than when we started with. So to prevent this from happening, we pass a catheter once a day. This will remove any additions and prevent it from healing. So it's a fairly long procedure. In fact, some people do it almost lifelong. But here the difference in the normal catheterization is that the process need not be sterile. The catheter has to be just clean and dry. It's almost like brushing. So since you're doing it every day, clean, smooth brush is good enough. So the ideal time to do self-calibration is once a day after a bath when everything is clean and there is sufficient privacy. And there are a few things you need to remember is that each time when you do self-calibration, you introduce bacteria. So reduce the number, the catheter has to be dry. If it is wet, it has more bacteria and it's easy to transmit. So the catheter has to be clean and dry. And the bladder has to be full so that even if there is bacteria get in, it's dilute. And then after the process, you either with the catheter empty the bladder completely or pass urine so that once the procedure is finished, the bladder is empty. And there are several techniques that you need, especially In men, it's easier to do, but then it's a little more painful and they need to get used to it for a while. In women, again, they need to learn the technique of how to do it. What about continuous bladder drainage? Here again, you need to be aware of the curves in the bladder. So especially in men, it's better to keep the catheter in the abdomen so that there's only one single curve. And the constant pressure doesn't cause any strictures, ischemic damage and stricture later. And you need to always remember that airlocks can also block the catheter. So you need to make sure that there are no airlocks in the collecting tube. And the urinary bag is at a lower level compared to the bladder. Again, to prevent infection and keep things going, you need to have sufficient hydration, which is important. Either the patient are not able to take enough orally, you need to give them intravenous fluids. And some of the organisms, they precipitate in acidic urine or some precipitate in alkaline urine. So depending on what is present, you can need to either alkalinize or acidify the urine. And sometimes when there is a block, negative pressure by just twisting and releasing itself can release the block. And if it doesn't get relieved, the most useful syringe to use is a 2 ml syringe, which fits nicely in the catheter and you can flush it. And if long-term catheterization is necessary, it's good to use silicone catheters. And what are the special circumstances you might encounter in the operating room? Sometimes if it is difficult to pass you the catheter, especially if you have done a procedure, if there is some bleeding or there is a stricture, then you can pass a guidewire and vision and then thread the catheter through the guidewire. But then if you cut a stricture and there is bleeding and the vision is bad, sometimes even that is difficult. Then what you do is you use a half-round sheath over the urethrodome, and then you pass a 14 French catheter, which is the only thing which will go via the half-round sheath comfortably. And if you need to fill the bladder, the technique is shown here. And if at all you need to, for some reason, block the catheter, you can use the cover of the disposable needle. This is the most annoying problem which you'll encounter, non-deflating balloon. So what do? So sometimes what the easiest method is advance the catheter a little further and try and inflate much more so that it breaks. But most of the time this doesn't work. Then you can cut the malfunctioning valves and try and pass a guidewire or something through it. This might help, might not help. And then you pass a needle as shown, and you can try and injecting some chemicals like ether, chloroform, liquid paraffin, acetone, or mineral oil. Of these, ether is probably the most effective, but then it can irritate the bladder quite a bit. So before you inject any of these, especially ether, you need to make sure that the bladder is full so that the irritant effect is much less, because once the balloon bursts, the ether will get into the bladder. And sometimes none of these are effective. So then you can try and puncture the balloon either by manually feeling it or with ultrasound guidance. You can either have whatever route you prefer, transurethral, transvaginal, transperineal, and so on. The idea is to puncture the balloon and get it. But then what we have found is that most of the time, if none of them, what we try and use is cut and see. If it doesn't work, then the most common thing which works is fill the bladder and inject ether if that is not available. So then what we have found the most useful thing is to do it under vision. You pass the ureteral endoscope, visualize, then you can use the guide wire and puncture it or burn it, because sometimes just the guide wire doesn't puncture it. So we need to pass a cutting current to burn and break the balloon. So these are the common emergency that you will encounter in rural areas. And in short, how we can manage it. Thank you.